dangerous thing in a creative room is not silence, it's overconfidence. Because when people are silent, it means they're thinking. Overconfidence is when some person walks in and says, guys, I have a great idea. And that's when the problem starts. Many years ago, we did this activity on FM radio here in Bangalore. The insight was solid, okay? Loss aversion. What does that mean? It means that people feel more when they lose money than when they gain money. So I said, what a great idea. Let's go on air with this. We'll give people money and then take it away from them. Okay? And we'll do it via quiz. So how does this work? Let's say you start with 97,000 rupees. We'll ask you 4 questions. For every question you get wrong, 1 digit from the end will fall off. So if you get 2 out of 4 wrong, 2 zeros have fallen off, you're left with 970 rupees. If you get 3 out of 4 wrong, 1 more digit falls, you're left with 97 rupees. Everybody was excited, saying this has never been done before. What an amazing idea. Let's do this. Went on air, everything, promos, RJs excited. We started the contest, and somehow the response wasn't as tagda as we thought it would be. So then we said, maybe we should increase the frequency. So instead of doing this once every alternate hour, which we were doing at that point, let's do it once every hour. Every hour you have the opportunity to win 97,000 rupees. It's huge, right? But still the response wasn't as we expected. 10 days we did this activity, we gave a lot of money out, but somehow at the end of it, we weren't satisfied. What was the problem? Reality. FM has 2 realities. Radio is a background medium. People listen to it when they're doing other things. Gardening, cooking, cleaning, listening to driving, running, sometimes even studying. When a concept is complicated, it's difficult for them to understand because it's background listening. The simpler it is, the easier it is for them to understand. The second reality, radio is an audio medium and therefore it works on energy. Now when people are winning, the energy is palpable. Everybody is excited, the RJ is playing the fool with the listener. But when the listener is losing money, suddenly the energy starts to drop. And you can see why that can be a problem on an audio-only medium. This is the classic case of, let's do something different, na? Ek kuch tufani karte hain. Let's not go for that low-hanging fruit. Not realizing that sometimes that low-hanging fruit is the one that's most accessible. Hi, my name is Jimmy. I worked for almost 25 years in radio. I love creating, whether it's content, puns, I write terrible jokes. I love creating biryanis, and I have very strong points of view on biryanis. Only mutton biryani counts. Veg is just pulao. Chicken is like, I mean, come on, it's a bird, so it doesn't really count. I worked across creative teams for many years. I have seen many ideas work spectacularly. I have seen even more ideas fail spectacularly. And most of the times, the idea fails in the room. So with the idea I just told you, right, that 97,000 rupees, what happened? We fell in love with the idea we imagined, not the idea that was going out to meet the world. In the room, everybody said, wow, amazing. In the real world, the idea had to meet people. Their time, their complexities, their confusions, their priorities, their attention spans, their intelligence or lack of it. The insight was solid, but loss aversion. It may have worked very well on another medium, in another format, but not on radio. So what happened in the room? One person walked in, gave the insight, presented the idea, everybody said, wow. There may have been a couple of people who said, you know, I'm not so sure about this. It sounds a bit complicated and also it feels negative. But they either didn't raise their voice or they just kept quiet. Which is why the brainstorming room is so critical. Every whisper in the room should be amplified so that everybody in the room can hear it. So there was this friend of mine, okay, who used to work with me in radio. And when we had brainstorming sessions, they'd come in with a fragment of an idea. And very often, someone with a louder voice would speak over them. and that idea would float away to find another home. This happened several times. Then one day my friend lost it. In that meeting, they yelled at everybody. All parties denied. They said, no, we didn't do this. Not because they were in denial, it's just that they weren't aware that they were doing it. And then meetings became a little more mindful after that. And I'm so glad that my friend had the courage to call it out. Because most people would have said, hey, why to put scene, ra? No need for all that drama, no, just let it be. And they would have kept quiet. And then what would have happened? Their ideas would have become less and less frequent and then dried up altogether. Whose responsibility is that? It's the person leading the brainstorm. They're like the coach of the team, seeing all the plays, making all the decisions, completely tuned in, locked in, listening to the chat. Hey, what did you say? Can you say that again? Something you also said. No, just say it again. What else can we do with that? That's how the person leading the brainstorming has to manage the room. It's got to be like a really messy karaoke night where everybody has to sing. You will be off tune. You will be off tempo. But everybody will cheer you and will join you when you sing. And in that mess is where you will find your star idea. Because brainstorming is rarely about talking. It's more about listening and even more about delayed judgment. You can't be standing there with a loaded rifle waiting to shoot the next idea down. It's very, very difficult to do. To not shoot the idea down, because that means you can't jump in and say, that won't work. It requires you to lean in and say, tell me more. An idea doesn't appear as a supermodel, like fully put together, confidently walking down the ramp. An idea very often appears like someone who's just woken out of bed. Messy hair, crumpled pajamas, garbled thoughts, some drool down their chin. Maybe the drool down the chin was a bit too much, but what I'm trying to say is that people present or contribute their best ideas when they feel safe, even when they're messy. And that's why that brainstorming room has got to be gentle, giving, generous, and welcoming. There are no bad ideas. You're only 1.24% away from a fabulous idea. And one excellent tool to use in a brainstorming session is Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. If you haven't heard about it, look it up and use it before your next brainstorming session. And also, what is that 1.24%, right? Between an idea and a fabulous idea. So it seems that the difference between the DNA of a chimp and a human is just 1.24%. Now, which is the more fabulous version? You decide. Which brings me to my favorite part of the anatomy of an idea. And to be honest, for a long time, it wasn't my favorite part. Then I saw many grand ideas dig their graves and jump in. And then I realized how important this is. So, if your idea is like this glamorous movie star, this is all the directors, the assistant directors, the DOPs, the crew, the light boys, the spot boys, the technicians, the F&B team, the transport department, the art department, makeup and hair, all of them working together, assembling everything to the shot looks just right. This is the non-glorious, not even cousin, this is the non-glorious uncle of the idea. It's the planning and the execution. This is where the idea either becomes epic IRL in real life or remains epic ITH in the head. The detailing, the planning, the execution is so important and so critical. Every task needs to be put down, needs to be assigned to someone with a deadline and a threat of what will happen if they don't meet the deadline. Threats work very well. You have to be painstaking, you have to be diligent, you have to have an eye for detail, you have to be able to zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in. Bird's eye view, worm's eye view, macro planning, micro planning, and then repeat. Every detail needs to be planned out, and no detail is too small because God lives in the details. A few years ago, we did one more campaign on air, okay? Someone came into the room and said, people feel happy when they clean up their cupboards, so can we help people clean up their cupboards? Then someone added to that and said, people also feel happy when they give to charity, so once they've decided that this they don't want to keep, can we help them give it to charity? Another person said, what if people don't want their cupboards to be cleaned? How do we include them? Notice the nature of the question. How do we include them? So then we said, okay, so can they donate? Can we make the donation process easier? So can we get someone on board? So we reached out to someone and said, hey, on your website, it was a quick commerce website. On this website, can you create a landing page for us? In 3 clicks, they should be able to donate. They said, yeah, we're happy to come on board. So that was created. Then we said, okay, now all of this is done. Now, what do we do with everything that we get collected? So we said, okay, there's a cancer institute here close by. Let's go there, talk to them, and see if they'll be interested. So we went and spoke to them. They said yes. Then we realized that the cancer institute has a kids wing. So we said, okay, let's up the stakes a little more over here. Can we get listeners to adopt wishes of 25 kids? So we took that also. Then we sat down and detailed everything. In 10 days, we collected 25,000 kilos of rice, 1,000 liters of oil. In 3 days, all of those wishes got adopted, the costliest one being a laptop. Then we said, okay, but we now need to end this event on a high. What do we do? Sat down, started detailing that. And we had to coordinate with all the people who'd adopted the wishes to come there and ensure that they give the gift that they said that they would give to the kid directly. I said God is in the details, right? The attention to detail. It's a very small detail that do we need, while we are documenting all of this, what about the kids? Can we shoot them? Do we need to take consent from the parents? Do we blur them out? Can we take only over-the-shoulder shots? Because that changes the way you document the entire thing. Then we got, and that day was brilliant. Like the smiles everywhere when the kids got their gifts, when the people gave them the gifts, when we got an artist to come down there, work with the kids to create a mural that finally went up in the Cancer Institute ward. We got the band Swaratma to come and perform for 30 minutes. That was a concert over there. Smiles everywhere. It was really joyful. And where did it start? It started with, when people clean their cupboard, they feel joy. Can we help them clean their cupboards? That's where it started. And see where it ended. It was called the Happiness Project. So, I've told you about ideas. I've told you about insights. I've told you about the brainstorming room. I've told you about planning and execution. I want to leave you with this. If you paid attention to everything, you'd realize that there was something common through all of this. The anatomy of an idea, when you strip it down, is not really about the idea at all. It's about everything surrounding the idea. And most importantly, the human who holds the idea. A magnificent idea in a scared head doesn't leave the room. A mediocre idea in a curious, courageous, empathetic mind leaves the room. It gets tested, it gets shared, it gets built, it gets broken down, torn down, built again, and then gets unleashed into the world. And before you unleash it into the world, you have to make sure that everybody knows what their role is, and everybody knows what the idea's role is. What are you trying to achieve with this idea? The anatomy of an idea. The muscles, the skeleton, the beating heart is actually a human that carefully filled the gaps, painstakingly, lovingly filled the gaps between brilliance on paper and brilliance in the real world. The idea is not the genius. The human is. You are. Thank you.